I am now joined by Shaun Attwood with his gripping book, Hard Time, a Brit in America's toughest jail. And you're here and you're live to tell the tale about your time in the toughest jail ever in America.
It's got the highest rate of death out of all of them, even the guards murdering the prisoners.
It's just crazy. I mean, I was totally gripped by this book from beginning to end. And it just seems crazy that you were in this jail because your crime was not like murder or anything like that. It was pretty light. And I don't know how you ended up in this place.
Well, yeah, I take full responsibility for putting myself in this jail. You know, I went to Arizona as a young person, made $1 million in the stock market. The money went right to my head. I started raving in Manchester when it began. It made a big impression on me. And I tried to transfer that scene over to the desert, including the drugs, the ecstasy. So it was my own daft fault.
You just got carried away with the whole thing.
Carried away.
Did you kind of feel like you were untouchable at one point? Is that how it felt?
We used to joke that we were above the law, they would never catch us, and all this kind of stuff.
So it must have been a total shock to your system when you realised that, you know, you didn't get away with it and you were in the worst prison ever possible.
When the SWAT team smashed my door down, you know, they all come in with the guns, that was a massive shock to my system. And your girlfriend was there as well, so I know she kind of went through it with you in some way. Yeah, in a big way. I tried to keep her separate from that lifestyle. Yeah. But unfortunately, you know, she became a casualty of my wrongdoing. Yeah.
So the book talks about, like every experience, it's pretty graphic actually, isn't it?
Yes.
Like you talk about the prisoners that you know, your cellmates, the prisoners you have to deal with. And what's the thing that had the most impact on you in prison? Especially at the beginning, when you first arrived.
You see so much violence, you just go into a state of shock when you first go in. Everything you take for granted in your normal everyday life, who you're texting, what you're going to have for dinner, all that stuff's out the window. All of a sudden you've got to get used to the sounds of heads getting bashed against toilets, bodies getting thrown around, people getting carried out on stretchers who look like they're dead. It's just raw survival. So you're just thinking when you go in, who can hurt me? Who can I possibly make an alliance with that will protect me? And I'm not a tough guy, you know, I'm not big at all or anything. So I had to go in and really analyse the situation and think, how am I going to survive each day? That's all you're thinking about in the beginning.
You have to use your smarts, don't you, and look around. And the thing that was really surprising was how segregated things were. So you had these groups and you had to kind of choose who you were going to ally with. So you had these kind of Aryan brothers, you had the American Mexicans, you had the Mexicans and you had the blacks, and they all stayed in their separate things and you weren't allowed to like mix with anybody else.
Exactly. When you go in, whatever race you are, a gang is going to come up to you. So I'm white, so the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang come up to me right away. First thing they do is ask you what your charges are, and you can't lie because it's on a little printout from the jail. Really? Some charges are KOS by the gang, which means kill on sight, such as paedophile stuff. Other charges are SOS, which means smash on sight, such as drive-bys, because women and kids sometimes get hit. So once you get through that interrogation, if you've got a sex offence or a crime against a woman or a child, they're going to try and murder you as soon as you come in. It's called convict justice. Once you get through that interrogation, then you have to go to the meeting and meet the head of the race, who explains all the rules you must follow or else the whole gang will smash you. If someone calls you a punk, a bitch, or hits you, you must fight them on the spot, or else the whole gang will smash you. You must take showers, or else they'll smash you for having bad hygiene. Can't go make you friends with the guards, or else they'll smash you for snitching. Can't go sit at tables with the other races, or else they'll smash you for that. So you've got to obey all these rules all the way through it. And they're constantly looking for people to beat up, because that's how they earn their reputations and their tattoos. It's called putting work in to earn your political ink. The more serious the act of violence, higher up in the gang are the tattoos that they earn. Really? To be a full member of the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang, to get the warbird tattoo, you have to murder someone in the jail for them.
Are you kidding?
Serious, yeah.
It's insane, it's crazy.
Completely different world.
Is a totally different, you've got like the worst people on the planet in one tiny little space, and that's what happens. They all get together. How did you get through it? Because you're pretty much untouched when you were there. That's what I realised when reading it. I was waiting for the moment when something was going to happen to you. I mean, how did you get through that?
I was very lucky because there was over 100 people arrested with me from the rave scene, the parties I was throwing, including a best friend of mine from my hometown up in Cheshire called Wildman, who was twice my size.
Oh, thank God he was bigger. So you had a bit of protection there.
Yeah, if you're going to get arrested, I recommend you get arrested with Wildman. And then
so he had your back then?
He had my back. And then later on, I started writing the stories for the prisoners and having them put on the internet. They started to get books and letters sent to them from around the world, and they started to protect me. And one of the guys was Two Tonys, who was an Italian mafia mass murderer who left dead bodies from Tucson to Alaska. He claimed that all his victims had it coming because they were rival gangsters, so he didn't see anything wrong with that. He was serving 112 years, and he started to protect me, and he had me, I was sneaking into his cell every day writing his life story.
So that was what you had, your currency in there that kept you alive,
yes.
basically.
Yeah, my currency was my writing and my education.
Wow.
Yeah.
God, this is so great. We're going to talk about this after the break. Will you join me?
I would love to.
Yeah. We'll be back after the break with more Loaded Lads Lit. Welcome back to Lads Lit, and I'm still joined by Shaun Attwood with his book Hard Time. And just to reiterate, you went into the toughest jail in America. Yeah. You were in the drug scene.
I tried to transfer the Manchester rave scene over to Phoenix, Arizona, including the drug ecstasy. Yeah. I didn't see the law as an obstacle to my partying, so it was my own death fault. I brought this on myself. My actual charges were talking about illegal drugs on the phone. Over 100 people arrested with me. It was a wiretap case. And anyone who spoke about illegal drugs on their phones was arrested because the cops had been recording all of our conversations.
What were the conditions like in there? Because, I mean, some of them were pretty awful, like the illness, the disease, you know, the confinement of being in a small space and everyone being ill at one time.
Well, we got 2 meals a day. Breakfast was...
it was disgusting, wasn't it?
It was mouldy bread and green bologna. And green bologna is a raw sausage meat that's gone past its sell-by date and it's got a green shine to it.
Lovely.
The mould on the bread, blue, green. Sometimes our mould came in these fantastic colours that look like works of art. And we were so hungry we just scratched the mould off the bread, and because it was stale, put it in water and swill it to get it down. The evening meal was a mystery meat slop the prisoners called Red Death. It looked like carroty vomit blended with blood.
It's making me hungry. Appetising.
And all kinds of random meat in it, and it stunk. Sometimes there was dead rats in it.
Someone found a needle in their food and they got hepatitis.
Yeah, the prisoners, if one of the ways of getting to someone is through their food if they want to attack you. So they put these needles that have got hepatitis C infected blood into people's food so they would bite that and it would... Up to 2/3 of them had hepatitis C because they're shooting up heroin and crystal meth.
Because there's the most amount of drugs used in the prisons, in fact.
Yeah, more drugs, more. I was surprised that society rounded up its drug addict criminals and put them in this place that's got the most drugs. It doesn't make any sense. There's no education, no rehabilitation. They want them to come right back because it's $50,000 a year per prisoner for the private prisons.
Really?
Yeah, it's a business model.
It's a great little business going on there, isn't it?
If you're a contractor or a politician, yeah.
Yeah, because I was surprised that they, you know, it seems like they're doing lots of checks, you know, especially when they have visitation and all of that. Yeah. But it seems like all the drugs still manage to get into the prisons, and I wonder...
Everyone's just going through the motions. There's more drugs in the prison than anywhere on the face of the earth. And the guys who specialise in bringing it in are called mules. They pride themselves on how many packages they can store inside of them without them peeking out during these strip searches.
Must be unbelievably dangerous.
If it bursts open, they can die. Yeah. The strip search after the visit involves you get completely naked in front of the guard, raise your man parts, turn around, bend over, spread your buttocks and cough, and they're looking right up your backside to see if you're smuggling anything in. There's also a foreskin search, but I'll leave the details of that to your imagination.
Yeah, well, I haven't got one, but it still sounds incredibly painful. Oh, that's horrible. So when you were there, you obviously had your vices, you wrote people's stories and things like that. How did you actually get through it yourself, spiritually, psychologically? How did you not go mad in there?
A combination of factors helped me get through it. Most important was my family and my girlfriend at the time, and their support was just, absolutely brilliant.
How did she cope with it as well, being on the outside, for all those years?
She was my lifeline, my girlfriend. She was visiting me 3 times a week, and the prosecutor knew that. And a year in, when the prosecutor was trying to break me down psychologically, she severed that lifeline intentionally by charging my girlfriend with 1 prescription pill found on the day of the raid without a written prescription, which is a class 6 felony. Co-defendants can't visit co-defendants. So she lasted about a year after that. And when the last phone call I had with her was, you know, I've done these crimes, you shouldn't be suffering, because she was suffering increasingly, I could feel it.
Yeah.
I said,
it's hard, isn't it? Even for the people outside.
Yeah.
I mean, you had it unbelievably tough.
I mean, I deserved to be punished, but all my family members didn't, and my girlfriend didn't. I said to her, look, I love you, and loving you is wanting what's right for you, and if you want to get on with your life, get on with it. And she finished the relationship, and I got off the phone crying, and you can't let people see you crying in prison.
Not even that. Yeah.
So I got into my cell, grabbed a book, faced the wall, I'm turning these book pages, and I'm crying, you know, and pretending to read this book, and that's... But again, I brought all this on myself, so... And I think I did just the right amount of time to send my life in this whole new positive direction. I don't begrudge it at all. It's strengthened me as an individual.
No, you definitely seem like that, yeah.
You know, I wake up with a smile on my face. There's no cockroaches crawling on me.
You're just so grateful there's no cockroach. There's no psycho cellmate below you. You know, you can sleep peacefully.
I see people complain about little things, like they're stuck in traffic. And I'm thinking, if this person had been in a life and death environment, this wouldn't even be registering. They'd just be getting on and enjoying their lives.
Well, it's great that, you know, you took from it a positive, you know, attitude afterwards.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming in. This is a great book, and it's got all the experiences in here. So anyone who wants to find out the nitty-gritty should read this book.
Absolutely. And the next one's coming out in April, party time.
Great. Well, I look forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So that is Hard Time by Shaun Attwood.